All right, we're back and we're here with my 2025 Formula One drivers and overall season championship prediction. And now I know this hot takes and uh and this is very late considering how most YouTubers have already done it. But I figure why not do it right now? And so let's already get into the hot takes. For my first hot take, I believe that Kimi Antonelli will end up winning one of the first three races and beat Max's record. And I'm gonna be honest with you, not even I believe that, but given how everyone's saying this kid is like the next big thing, he's the next generational talent. I'm like, you know, maybe he will break Max's record. So we just gotta see. And I feel like that's an interesting take. Next up, I believe that Jack Doohan will perform well enough to not be replaced for the season. You got to remember, I feel like it's kind of odd to have it only be 6 races. At least give him like a little bit more, realistically speaking, for the fact that, how do I say it? Colapinto has literally 5 years on his contract. So even if Doohan doesn't do, how do I say it? Even if Doohan like does perform well in the like first 6 races, there's no reason to replace him right then and there. Even if they want to get Colapinto in the seat as fast as possible, I feel like, I feel like you know, I feel like Doohan could cook. I feel like everybody's like just like, oh yeah, I don't know Doohan. I don't think he'll do it. No, but I feel like Doohan can do it. You just gotta trust the process. Next up, I feel like Yuki Tsunoda will have one of his best years this season. And I feel like if I'm wrong on this, I'm going to clip back at this and be like, dang, I was really wrong at this. Yuki Tsunoda did not have a good season. But I trust Yuki Tsunoda. And I trust that he'll outperform Hadjar. No disrespect to Hadjar. But I feel like Yuki Tsunoda got robbed. And I'm going to keep on saying that. What else? I feel like Max is going to... I feel like Max is going to get some wins, maybe 2 or 3. But I don't think he'll have the same seasons as he did compared to like 2023 or 2022. So we really just got to see. So it's really interesting with the current state of Formula One. And not to mention next year, we're going to be transitioning into a new car. And even then, some people are predicting that we'll get, how do I say it? A car, like a team and stuff like that, they'll lead for like a good amount. Like there'll be a new head runner. And honestly, with no bias, I hope it's Haas. Definitely no bias at all. I hope it's Haas. But we gotta see. Anyways, let's get into... Actually, I want to start with the constructors rankings before the drivers, because I know most people, they start with the driver rankings and they probably do the constructors. But me, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. All right. So for 10th place, there has to be a 10th place. I have Stake, which is a surprise to no one, given their last season's performance where they only got 4 points thanks to Show in the second to last round. I got to say, I feel like, how do I say it? I feel like they're going to score more points than they did last season, considering how good they were doing at the end, as long as they're able to remember what they allowed them to do that good at the end and not, mess things up and have to start over. In 9th, surprisingly, I have Alpine. And I know you're wondering, why Alpine in 9th? Alpine was one of the best teams last season. I feel like, how do I say it? I feel like they aren't going to do so strong. Like, it seems like they always repeat the same thing where they struggle in the beginning of the year, then they do good towards the end of the year. And I feel like this time that they do that is going to actually cost them instead of them being able to push. Now in 8th, I have RB. I have, V-Carb now. And if I have V-Carb, and I feel like Yuki Tsunoda is going to be the main one carrying the team. But overall, given how every other team is finding a way to step up, I feel like V-Kart won't be able to step up. Now in seventh, I believe that a surprising seventh might actually be, and hear me out with this, and as much as I don't want to say this considering they have one of my favorite drivers in the lineup, Aston Martin. And I know that's a wild to say, but for the most part, Aston Martin has been on a major decline. And I feel like this might actually be one of their worst seasons, like as a whole. And I feel like it's gonna be carried by Fernando Alonso, but I feel like he's not gonna be able to carry the team enough, simply because they just don't know how to make a fast car. Like, because if Lance Stroll of all people is complaining about the car being slow, the guy who's demotivated, the guy who ran into the sand is complaining about the cars being slow, then I don't know what to tell you. But that car might be slow. Because Lance Stroll, like we already know, he trash, if we're being real. But I feel like obviously Lance Stroll, he'll continue to hold the team down, which will mess up the overall team, and I feel like realistically speaking, he might actually get kicked out of Formula One. I know that's a hot take right there, but I feel like he might actually, well, not get kicked, but he might just retire, step back from Formula One, because he's not really doing too well, if we're being honest. I feel like in six, I feel like six will be Williams. I feel like Carlos Sainz has what it takes, along with Alex Albon, who's still a capable driver, to be able to push the Williams car to be a top backmarker team. I feel like they'll really be able to bring in a lot of solid middle top placements and stuff like that, like maybe a P7 here, P8, stuff like that, Along with that, I also believe that Carlos Sainz, or rather just anybody in the Williams team, might actually potentially get a freak podium, like just a random podium out of nowhere. I don't know why, but I feel like Williams will get a podium before the season. And I know that's a really crazy prediction, given the current state of how they're not really trying, and they'll rather just already improve on the 2026 car. But I have a feeling that either Carlos Sainz or Alex Albon will end up getting a freak podium. Like, I just think it's going to happen. And I feel like it's going to help propel the team to a top, to secure a top spot. And of course, next up, P5. Now, obviously, this is definitely with no bias at all. No bald eagles at all. No bias at all. I think Haas will be P5 in the constructors. I'm being honest. I think they'll do it, especially with that Toyota, like being able to back them up and stuff like that. I just feel like they'll become a top team, or at least a team that could fight for potential podiums. Because now Haas has Oliver Bearman, which is a person who has a little solid amount of experience in Formula One, driving for even a top team, which we know on his, debut ever race, he got P7, which is actually really good. I feel like not a lot of people understand how good that is for a debut race, especially considering he's still, how do I say it? He still had his own, he was still in Formula 2 at the time. Considering when other drivers, when they started, they were already out of Formula 2, or at the time, I'm pretty sure it was GP2. And now they were getting into Formula 1. Now Oliver Bearman, he was still in Formula 2 and stuff like that. So he wasn't fully adjusted. He was adjusted enough to be able to, replace Carlos Sainz, but he wasn't adjusted enough to actually have that proper experience. And so now I feel like with the proper experience, he'll be able to really be up there frequently. And along with Esteban Ocon, who, despite, crashing into his teammates, and all his ignorances, I feel like he still is a capable driver, and he still is hungry for more. So that's why I'm saying Haas P5. And definitely no bias at all. Definitely no bias at all. America. But we're moving on to P4, and I'm going to be honest with you. P4, I feel like it's going to still be Mercedes. And now, despite, I know that's a hot take, considering given the downfall, well, not really the downfall, but the decrease in power from Red Bull. I still feel like Mercedes is not going to be where they need to be to actually be a championship contender again, at least for this year. The reason I say that is because not only are they letting a new rookie onto the team, so the rookie has to get adjusted, so it may take a couple of races. Obviously, I still said I think he's going to win one of the first 3 races. Maybe just how Haas, I said Williams. Maybe just how Williams could get freak podiums. Maybe Antonelli will get a freak win. You never know. But being real here, I feel like they're still gonna struggle a bit. I feel like George is gonna obviously still be over the team and stuff like that, and be able to, help pull the team to a solid amount of wins or podiums and stuff like that. But I don't think he'll be able to push it just enough, similar to how I said for Fernando Alonso and stuff like that. And now, obviously, P3, I have Red Bull. And if we're being real, I feel like Red Bull, I feel like, obviously, they're going to have a decrease. And I feel like they're not going to be as much of a heavy hitter, but I still feel like they're going to get wins. I'm going to be honest with you, and this might be another hot take of mine. I feel like Liam Lawson won't get a win. I feel like he'll be able to achieve podiums, but I'm not too sure about a win. I'm being honest. I feel like Liam... I feel like he'll do his best, but he won't be as good. I feel like he still needed a full season within V-Carb before he got to RB, considering the fact that Yuki Tsunoda has been showing and literally proving to us. And this without any bias, bro. I'm happy that we got another person that's from the region of Oceania up there in the seat. Because, I miss Danny Ricciardo. That's my favorite F1 driver. And so it feels good to have another person from that area be in RB, and I'm a big fan of Liam. But I just feel like Yuki Tsunoda was the obvious better choice. And that's literally no disrespect to Liam. I just feel like he needs a little bit more experience before he got put into a top team like that. And then, of course, there are other drivers where they didn't need experience to be put into a top team and perform well. Liam could be one of these people. I'm not too sure. I don't know him like that. But what I do know is that I feel like it's the smarter choice to get the hungry driver who's capable rather than to get the driver that you guys want to plan out long term when you haven't even actually decided to plan them out short term. If you're trying to understand what I'm saying. And now next up for P2. And obviously, P2, this can really go either way. But I'm going to say McLaren. Because this year is our year. That's right. If I support Haas with a little bit of that Italian engine, you already know I'm repping the Italian stallion, which is why McLaren will get P2 in the constructors and Ferrari will win. That's right. I said it, and I know I said it. And guess what? Another hot take. Oscar could potentially outperform Lando Norris, which, if we being real, that is potentially true. But obviously, let's be real here for a second. Lando's outperforming Oscar probably 9 times out of 10, especially if Lando could lock in and stop bottling his starts. I feel like realistically, Lando has a chance at the podium again. And I feel like this time he'll actually be able to, cook and work well with it. But realistically, I'm still a fan of Oscar more. Anyways, P1. And now for position 1, I must say, it belongs to Ferrari. This year is our year. We have Lord Percival and Sir Lewis Hamilton. Now, realistically, I do think in the beginning, Lewis will struggle just a bit to be able to just understand the grabs and combat with a whole different car. Also, I would find it funny again if he ends up going into, the pit stop of Mercedes, just like how he did for McLaren. Now, that would be really funny. But, if I'm being honest, I feel like, how do I say it? I feel like as much, okay, actually, you know what? This would be spoilers for the driver rankings. So, let's get into it. The driver rankings. 20. I'm gonna throw out a random number because I feel like we're gonna actually get some people to get subbed in for some of these races. So 21, I feel like it's gonna be. Now for 21st, I'm gonna have to say, as much as I want to believe that he'll do well, I just feel like they'll still end up kicking him even if he gets 1 point. So Jack Duhan, I'm sorry, you got to be in 21st. Now for 20th, I feel like, here's a hot take. Look at me now. Stop looking. You're looking at the screen. You don't even see me. But Gabriel Bortoleto. I know that's a hot take considering he is I'm pretty sure, he was the Formula 2 champion. And I feel like he'll do really well. It's just he made a mistake by ending up in stake. So I feel like he'll be able to get points, but I feel like it won't be enough. I feel like this season will actually be a season where even the backmarker teams are actually capable of getting points because everyone is struggling so much that there's a potential chance that anyone can fumble at any time. So I feel like he'll be able to get points, but it won't be enough to push him further throughout the rankings. And next up, I have Isaac Hadjar, and I know that is a hot take to have the top 2 rookies at the back. But listen. I feel like Hadjar. I feel like he'll perform as well as his V card will allow it. But I don't think he'll be able to perform enough to where he can push past the limits of that said V card. And I know that's a hot take, but that's a take that I'm willing to make. That's why it's a hot take. Next up, Nico Hulkenberg. As much as I don't want to put my goal here and I want to put him up in P5, I know it's not possible because of what the current state of the team he's at. And they made a mistake by sending him to stake. Ocon should have went there. This don't make no sense. And anyways, I feel like next up will actually be, hear me out with this, Franco Colapinto. Yeah, I know that's a real interesting take, that Franco Colapinto this early down. But I feel like he'll be able to perform, but not enough. And my reasoning for that is, as fast as he drives, it's also as fast as he crashes. He still is very prone to crashing. It's just that he's also very prone to getting good points. So that's why I place him here, because I feel like he'll still have those moments where he crashes and stuff like that. Now, next up, I have Lance Stroll. And now, to no surprise, he's going to be trash. I'm pretty sure we already know that. So just hopefully he doesn't run into, the sand trap again and actually goes around. But anyways, let's move on. Next up, I'm going to be honest with you, Yuki Tsunoda. I feel like he'll struggle a bit, but I feel like he'll be able to still outscore Hadjar, if we're being honest. I feel like it's pretty simple. Like he'll be able to score points, probably get like a P6 or P7 here and there. But I feel like the V-carb as a whole might drop down in terms of performance, if we're being real, given how every other car is trying to level up. And so, next up, we're going to have Alex Albon. And now, I feel like Carlos Sainz will actually be capable of outperforming him and just doing better overall. And I feel like that'll help him. Like, how do I say it? I feel like Carlos Sainz being on the team is going to make him strive to be better, but I feel like he won't be able to outperform him. I feel like he'll still have somewhat of the same season he had last year. We just got to honestly see, if we're being real. I do know that he's still a capable driver, but I don't think that he's capable enough of outperforming Carlos Sainz. Next up, I must say, Next up, I want to say Ocon. Yeah, Esteban Ocon. And now for the reason for that, I feel like he'll be able to help out Haas a lot. But I feel like, surprisingly enough, I feel like this is the one situation where the rookie will actually outscore the vet. I feel like Ocon, he's capable. Like I said it earlier in the team, he's capable. But I don't think he's going to be capable enough of being able to push the team as much as possible. But after Ocon, I have Fernando Alonso. You already know he's going to be pushing Aston Martin as much as possible. But given how they probably want to go and focus on the 2026 car more, he won't be able to push it enough. And plus, the car is still slow. It's literally a tractor, which is why I think that the team will struggle. Next up, now we'll have Oliver Behrman. I feel like he'll be able to push that Haas to his limits, but I don't think that he'll be able to push it enough. And that's probably going to be the major problem. But yeah, there's not really too much I can say about the rookies besides 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be wrong. And you just got to watch them. Next up, I have Pierre Gasly. I feel like, and I don't even want to, because if I keep on saying the same thing, I might as well be a broken record. I feel like Gasly will actually be the one to outscore both his teammates combined in terms of points in Alpine. And I feel like we'll see Gasly be a frequent point scorer to where he's able to push that car to, reach top spots like P5, even a potential another podium, if we're being honest, given how he was able to get a podium last year. And he was even able to qualify P3 last year. And he was still like a top runner throughout the end. Now, I do think that Alpine will suffer through the first half, if we're being honest. So, yeah. All right, now we have Carlos Sainz. I feel like he'll be the one to get that random freak podium of the season. I feel like he'll prove to us that he still has it despite being in a team that was second to last season. I feel like Williams will have a major improvement compared to last season. You just got to trust the process. Trust me, trust the process. Carlos Sainz will cook. So yeah, that's what I got to say. Anyways, next up, Kimi Antonelli. If we're being real, I feel like he's not going to have one of the greatest of his seasons if he's able to continue being an F1. I do feel like he'll struggle. I do still think he'll get that random win in the first 3 races. But then after that, I think he'll struggle. I know that's kind of crazy to say. But still, I feel like he'll be able to push himself to prove that he's worthy of being a top contender. But he won't be able to push himself enough for the overall team. After him, though, I have Liam Lawson. I think that Liam Lawson will be able to perform well with what he's given, but I feel like he won't be able to actually push the car, obviously, to where he's able to be a solid enough second driver for Max. I feel like who knows, maybe he probably 9 times out of 10, out of anyone who's going to prove me wrong, he'll definitely be the one to do it for sure. But I'm just not too sure with him being able to actually get a win, which is kind of funny of me saying that Kimi Antonelli would get a win, but I'm not sure the guy who has way better experience in an F1 car being able to get a win. Now, obviously, quick little pause segment. Obviously, half of this ranking, I just put this stuff here randomly, and it's mostly for jokes. And it's usually not real, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think that Liam will struggle a bit, and I hope he doesn't get kicked out of not F1, but out of the Red Bull seat simply because of the mistake that Red Bull made. And I feel like they still haven't learned their lesson considering the past few mistakes. They must be really sure with Liam Lawson on this if they're able to just up him that fast. So we just got to see. And I feel like next up, I'm going to have to say George Russell. I feel like George Russell, he's able to, bring in a solid amount of points, but I don't think it'll be enough for Mercedes. I feel like he'll still struggle. And there's not really much I can say. Maybe he'll get a win. Maybe he won't. I know he'll get podiums for sure. George Russell's George Russell. He still is a person that I feel like will in the future be a championship contender. I just feel like right now Mercedes, although it's a great team for him, isn't the team that's going to help him bring in that championship. which is why next up I have Oscar Piastri. And now I really don't want to put him here because he's one of my favorites. Obviously, if bias would allow me, I'd put him at P3 or P2. But yeah, he's P5 because I feel like he'll be able to cook this season, but I feel like McLaren as a whole will have him kind of step down a bit and try and like do like a second driver thing for once. So we just gotta really see how that goes. Next up, Max Verstappen. I feel like he'll still be able to bring in wins, podiums, stuff like that. And I feel like he'll be able to cook. In P3, I have Lewis Hamilton. I know, actually kind of crazy. I feel like he'll be able to cook this season. He'll be able to bring back his drive, his wins, his style. But I don't think he'll be able to cook enough for the championship. I feel like he'll still miss out on that championship. Which is why next up after him, I have Lando Norris. I feel like Lando Norris, he'll be able to, bring it in. He'll be able to, Lando, as we know, he's trying to fight for that championship. But I feel like he's missing something that will allow him to reach that championship, like to just grab out and reach it. And that's why I think he'll be in second once again. But I feel like for 2026, he might be able to actually win that championship. But I feel like he won't be able to win it 2025, which is why in first place, I have Charles Lord Percival Leclerc. That is right. Mr. Incident himself will be in first place. And it won't be no incident. It will be on purpose. That's right. He will win this championship. But without further ado, I address a newcomer has stepped into the field. That's right. By luck, the Monaco curse strikes again. It gets the last laugh. Charles Leclerc is out for the season. Who will save the championship for Ferrari now? That's right. Zhou Ganyu championship. That's right. Zhou for the championship. The man himself. Mr. 8. P8. He'll score consistent P8s. While everybody else will be all in up and down the field, he'll just get P8, 4 points, 4 points, 4 points, again and again. Just enough to win the championship. That's right. Zhou Ganyu will win. He'll get that podium too. And you know what? While I'm at it, Hulkenberg will get a podium too in that mistake. That's right. That's right. I said, that's right. Now say it with me. Forza Ferrari, Forza Ferrari, Forza Ferrari. Worty 40 today.